I could call out Hembry for giving up a run, but I'm not going to do that. I didn't really care for the way Cora managed yesterday's game, so I'm just going to go with him. And this isn't like a John Farrell type moment. It's not like that level. I'm not trying to say it is, but I just thought if Brazier wasn't going to be available, we didn't know that before the game. We found out that after the game, but Cora knew it all along. I just would have kept Johnson in there, for at least let him finish out the fifth inning and maybe just kind of ride him out. And lately, Johnson's struggles have really been in the first couple innings, and he was kind of cruising, and he gave off. He got the out in the first out in the fifth, I should say, tripping over myself, and then he gave up a base runner and then got the hook. And I just, if he's gonna pitch well beyond those early innings, you may as well just see what he can do. I don't want it to be mandatory every time he gives up a hit in the fifth inning, him getting yanked. And then he put Workman in right after, which I wasn't even thrilled with. I mean, if you're going to go with a lockdown guy to get out of that inning, okay, but he brings Workman in. Workman puts two people on base, and it could have gotten ugly in that inning versus the eighth. And I just he probably could have pulled Barnes a little bit quicker, but I just wasn't crazy about how that whole game went down, and I didn't even celebrate when we won. It was just an ugly game, and we got real fortunate that Mattingly kind of got a little weird with his bullpen there late, and we got the win. So that's my call out, but not. I mean, I'm not. Don't put me in the anti-Cora category for that. It was just one game that I wasn't thrilled with. So all right, we can just get into the in-depth part of the recap now. Getting over to Kimbrel, Dave, you listed off a lot of concerns. Here's my concern. It's going to be September 1st on Saturday, and usually by September 1st, you want all the little kinks, throughout your roster, whether it's lineup, rotation, bullpen, to be worked out. Like, this is the time where you really want to get things smoothed out, and Kimbrel has struggled mightily since the All-Star break. He's got a 5.11 ERA in that time, a 1.54 WHIP. He's not showing me anything right now that he's going to get this figured out. And we already know he struggles in big moments in the postseason. So I'm just, my comfort level in him isn't great.
Yeah, no, it's not well. Take it away, Austin.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's comfort level's very well with him right now. If anybody's is, they haven't been watching the games and they're just looking at box scores. And they're kind of a box score watcher. For anybody that actually watches every game, you cannot feel comfortable when Craig Kimbrel goes out there. Absolutely not. It's a lot like Matt Barnes right now, to where you're just kind of you're waiting for that walk, and you just have to hope that nothing happens after that walk.
Yeah, 100%. Since the All-Star break, Kimbrel's been flat out not good. And he's had bright spots, like against Tampa the other day in a non-save situation. Obviously, he's gotten a handful of saves since the All-Star break, but he hasn't looked the same at all. And you worry about that going into the playoffs in September, like you said, Terry, there's not much baseball left at that point, right? You got about a solid month. And in that solid month, you're playing a lot of good teams. Yankees twice, Houston once, and Cleveland as well, again. So a lot of playoff teams there. Atlanta's in there. So he's going to get some work. I know he went like 8 or 9 games without it, but that's not going to happen all the time. So especially in the postseason, where I don't think we'll be winning 14-6, but not every game anyway. But I am concerned. The one thing though, and I don't know if it's hypocritical to say, but I'm a little annoyed with like the media and the Pink Hat fans and the box score fans, the recap fans, right, that are calling out Dombrowski for not making a move at the deadline for a pitcher, a relief pitcher anyway. Going into the trade deadline and even probably the pre-All-Star break, we were top 3 in ERA bullpen. Kimbrel was the second best closer in the league, and only behind Diaz, and just because Diaz had a lot more appearances in there, because Seattle was winning closer games than longer games, bigger games like the Red Sox. And we were getting Tyler Thornburg back. We were getting Stephen Wright back at some point. Thornburg just came back. Wright is going to come back at some point. I believe Erod is out, but not going to be out for the year at that point. And the glaring hole was a starter, and Joe Kelly was great this year. So you look around that, and and you got guys like Feltman coming up and September call-ups and everything like that.
Brazier's surprise.
Brazier was a surprise. It's not like we were a team winning every game, and every time the bullpen came out, we were sucking. Right now, we hit a little rough patch. This is the first rough patch for the whole bullpen all year long. So I just don't get how people can say Dombrowski blew the trade deadline when he got you an everyday second baseman, he got you a quality 4 or 5 starter, and the bullpen was a guy was called up from Pawtucket, a guy came back from injury, and both guys were bullpen guys, and you're going to get starters to go there in the playoffs. I just don't see that. They're struggling now, but literally up until this point, up until probably a week after the All-Star break, they've been nails all year.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if I'm a Dombrowski guy or not, but I don't really. I'm not going to point the finger at him, if the season doesn't end the way we want it to. But we did kind of miss on some things. Maybe Kinsler can turn it around and be, highly productive. We know he's going to be defensively anyway, but Evaldi, I'm not crazy about that. If he turns it around, or if Price ends up not missing more than a start, and then Sale comes back without a hitch, maybe Evaldi, maybe his value comes out of the bullpen, and we're not complaining about the bullpen as much like we're gonna hear. So I don't know, and I still don't think Dombrowski's going to be here in 2 years necessarily. I don't think he's.
He probably won't be.
I don't think he's going to be the guy to build the team, but he's made moves though, and he's tried to address things. Unlike Ben Cherington a couple years ago, who well into the month of July was saying, "Oh, I think this is a solid team. They just need to play better." When clearly the rotation...
In denial.
Yeah, exactly. The rotation was fucked from the very get-go. Masterson, Porcello, who I hated at the time and hated all season that year. He didn't show anything.
Awful that year and hurt.
Yeah, he didn't show anything until halfway through 2016. But, Masterson, Miley, Porcello... I don't even remember what the back end of the rotation looked like, but it just wasn't. I knew we were in big trouble right from the get-go, and Dombrowski hasn't been that guy, so no complaints there. But my biggest gripe with the Red Sox fan base is when they cite off 92 wins, 93, whatever it is now, we haven't won anything yet, and we've got a lot of concerns. This bullpen scares the shit out of me. And 3 or 4 episodes ago, I'm like, I think we're good, but it all hinges on Kimbrel to me. If he's not solid, my confidence goes down, because if Matt Barnes is the only problem and he's having a rough stretch, you got other options around him. But when those guys are scuffling, and then you get it to the 9th inning with that 1-run lead that he had last night, I'm not comfortable with that with him. Nobody is swinging at his stuff right now, and he's walking everybody. That's how I look at this bullpen. If Kimbrel is solid, my confidence goes way up, and he's been anything but that. If his name isn't Craig Kimbrel, he's on mop-up duty right now on any other baseball team.
Yeah, obviously, because it's Kimbrel, but that's why you keep him in there, is because you know what he can actually do. But I agree with you with that. If Kimbrel's rolling, the bullpen kind of rolls. Because like you said, if Barnes is struggling, right? All right, well, Barnes is struggling, you put Joe Kelly there. Hembry's struggling, you put Brazier there. Brazier's struggling, you put Thornburg there. You have a guy right there. But when you have two issues, including the closer, then it's like, okay, who do we put in the ninth inning? Who do we put in the seventh inning to even get there? Who do we put in the eighth inning so we can get to Kimbrel or the new closer? So it's a big issue. And I agree. About a month ago, I was like, this bullpen's going to be fine. Like, everyone has a rough spot here and there. But now it's a concern now. But I think it's a concern of just personnel. I think the personnel is good. They just need to figure their shit out. And as for the Dombrowski trades and everything like that, if Kinsler can just bat 250 and play Gold Glove D, it's pretty much an improvement from Nunez because he's probably going to bat 250, 265 this year and play awful D at second. So pretty good there. Evaldi, very hit or miss. He's either going to have a quality start or he's going to get blown up. He's got weird stats. His last 4 games, his last 38 innings, he's given up only 4 walks, 15 earned runs. He's 2-2 in his last 7 games with a 3.55 ERA. Sounds good on the surface until you look at the games where, shutout against Philly, but then 4 earned runs in 5 innings against Cleveland. And 5 innings, 5 earned runs in 4 innings against Tampa, and watch, he'll go throws a quality start against the White Sox. So it's just very hit or miss. But I'm with you on that with Dombrowski. He doesn't build a team, but he puts the best players that he can in the lineup, on the roster, I should say. And it's up to them to perform. And right now the bullpen's not performing, and flat out they're a liability at the moment. So they need to really turn it around and get ready for September. And hopefully the call-ups help, A, to give maybe guys some breaks, and B, maybe to light a fire under some guys' asses that are on the outside looking in maybe at the moment.
Yeah, I put out a tweet earlier. It looks a lot worse when it's on paper. I'm trying to get it. Well, I could probably do it by memory, actually. Since the All-Star break, Hector Velasquez has a 4.08 ERA. Tyler Thornburg has a 4.20 ERA. Kimbrel and Hembry both 5.11 ERA. And Matt Barnes a 6.91. So a lot of that is probably within the last couple weeks, but there's a lot of concerns there, and it's gotten to the point with Kimbrel where I want him to come in with a 2 or 3 run lead because 1 just isn't enough because he's going to give up that mandatory walk at the start of the inning, and I don't know. The theme for that bullpen is they're all a bunch of raging head cases, aside from maybe Brazier and Velasquez. Hembry, Barnes, Kelly even at times. His ERA, Kelly's is 2.76 since the All-Star break, so he's pitching fairly well, but that could easily go the other way. And Kimbrel is probably the biggest head case of them all. I mean, if it's not a save situation, he goes out there and he loses his mind. It's frustrating, and the Astros got away with not really having a great bullpen last year, and they won the World Series, but I don't think we can recreate that magic. And
they got away with it because Charlie Morton was absolute nails. That was a huge part of that bullpen. The fact that he went in there and was just pretty much amazing every single outing that he was in.
Yeah, Peacock.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Brad Peacock also.
And Peacock was amazing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Indians got away with it too. I mean, if you look at that Indians bullpen that year, you take away Andrew Miller. Is it that scary?
No.
Andrew Miller got you 2 to 3 innings a night. Not every other game, not every 3 games, a night he was out there.
Because Cody Allen wasn't having a spectacular year.
No, he wasn't. And once you face 3 different pitchers in a game, and they're all nasty. Well, you got a couple good ones that you go from Andrew Miller to anybody, you're going to struggle. It's like when you take Chris Sale out of the game, other guys can shine because you go from looking at 96 and 98, and then these nasty sliders, and then you got somebody come in like a Thornburg who can throw a changeup at 84, and you're like, oh god, here we go, I'm gonna be way out in front of this. So the Red Sox can do that, and I think that's one of the big things that you'll listen to 98.5 or 103.7. You hear these they're idiots on those channels. Like Felger and Maz are some of the stupidest people in media, and they'll go out there and they will just bash this Red Sox bullpen. They'll bash Cora. They'll bash whatever. But if you ask them about the last couple of years, they'll be like, "Oh, that bullpen was so good in Houston. Look at what that. Who do we have to do that? We have people. Erod, Evaldi, David Price did it last year for him.